Hello everyone and welcome back. This isn't the kind of video that I normally do, but I've started to see comments around Fallout related content or Bethesda related content that is complaining about how long Fallout 5 will take to come out, which is like 7 years or something. Like, they've got a lot of stuff to do afterwards, so we don't really know. But it's pretty long. And the thing is, it's not like I'm upset with everyone who's doing this, because I'm also sad that, like, it's going to take a while. But there are people who are getting really toxic about it, and they're saying things about Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, like, that they just shouldn't make them and they fucking suck, just because they're not getting a Fallout. And I just want to talk about why I think that's really dumb and a really bad mindset to have about Bethesda games and about the entire community in general. Now, I just want to make it really clear that I'm not mad with people who are sad about it and they just want it to come quicker, because it is a bit disappointing, but it makes sense. But, we're not going to have a Fallout game for quite a while. It's the people who are being rude to the other Bethesda game communities, like The Elder Scrolls 6, which they've been waiting on forever now, and Starfield, which looks really promising and is a new IP, and I don't think people should shit on it just because they want a new Fallout. I should also mention that, of course, Bethesda is pretty notorious for taking a long time to make games. Now, from what I personally understand, this has to do with the scale of the games, but also they have a smaller development team than many publishers do. Now, I'm not in the industry. I don't really know if it's good or bad. I'm not trying to attack or defend Bethesda. It's just a fact that their games take a long time to come out, and we need to take that into account because they have cycles of what they're creating, and we've seen this throughout the 2000s and 2010s. This video will be broken down into 3 separate points on why I think this kind of thinking is really backwards and not a good thing for the other Bethesda titles and just the community in general. But before I get into it, I would like to mention that these are like a small percentage of people. There are plenty of people where this is not really a major issue, or it's more of a light-hearted thing, but just because it's a small amount doesn't mean it's not important to talk about. Now, with that really long intro out of the way, let's get into my points, shall we? Number 1, it's selfish. Now, what do I actually mean by this? Well, those kind of comments where it's like, oh, get rid of Starfield, get rid of Elder Scrolls 6, because then we can develop Fallout 5. Well, first off, it's really odd to me that some people can't respect, particularly the Elder Scrolls community, considering the fact that they're actually well developed, unlike Starfield, because it's not out, and they're also a Bethesda thing. And I don't know about you, but I played Skyrim and then I played Fallout 3, right? They're very interconnected because they're both Bethesda properties, and they're both RPGs. Surely, the majority of people, if they enjoyed Fallout, or if they enjoyed the Elder Scrolls, they would enjoy the other, and at least have a certain amount of respect for it. I mean, Skyrim was one of the most popular and famous games of all time, so you're telling me that some of these people legit don't care about a sequel to one of the most famous RPGs of all time, that has been in the works for a very long time. Like, surely, if you're upset you're going to have to spend a lot of time waiting for Fallout 5, you would understand and acknowledge the fact that they've been waiting longer for a sequel, and they're actually going to get it. I mean, it's still a little ways off, but they're actually going to get it. And you just disregard that because you want your thing now. And honestly, I can't believe that there are that many people where it's like, they only care about Fallout. I mean, I love both series, but I don't really understand why you would disregard the other, to be honest. And now we have Starfield, which I can kind of get slightly more than the Elder Scrolls anyway, to disregard it, to not want it, in order to have a Fallout game, or to dislike it, because it is slightly controversial, although I don't see why, because it has more traditional RPG elements that we've seen from the trailer, it looks really promising, and although I didn't see this directly in the comments I'm talking about, there are a lot of Fallout fans who really don't like the newer Fallouts because they have less RPG elements. surely you would be at least somewhat excited for Starfield if you notice that they have these elements. Particularly, I'm talking about the traits system that is there, that is also in New Vegas, one of people's favorite things, and I just really don't understand how you would want to get rid of this new, exciting IP that looks really promising just to get the familiarity of the Fallout franchise. I get people really love Fallout, so do I, but to just try to get rid of this new, innovative idea just seems really backwards and counterintuitive. I would really love to fall in love with a new IP and a new universe if we can. So to just disregard and try to discredit Starfield because you want a new Fallout game just seems honestly really awful for the Bethesda community, and it's really sad to me that some people genuinely think that. Although I do want to say again, it's not much, but I've seen it a couple times, so. 2. Fallout has had the most attention, and what I mean by this is since 2008, when Fallout 3 came out, we've had Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, which I know that Obsidian made it, but it was made also using assets from Fallout 3, and Bethesda was the ones who wanted to get it made, so, even though it's not directly them, it is still a Fallout game, and the most popular one, so I'm still going to count it. Then, of course, we had Fallout 4, and even later on, Fallout 76, as well as Fallout Shelter. And what I'd like to mention about Fallout 76 is it's still getting updates, it's still getting content. I know not everyone likes it. Personally, I've put a decent amount of time into it, but I don't play it anymore. But it is still getting updates, so even though there's not a new Fallout game, there is new Fallout content being made even now. But let's compare to what has been made in that time for the Elder Scrolls community. Of course, in 2011, we had Skyrim, and we also had the Elder Scrolls Online, which, granted, does still get DLC to this day, it is still doing quite well and getting updates, so I will give the Elder Scrolls community that. They do have that going on for them. And there's also Blades, which, I think it was a failure. It's definitely not as good as Fallout Shelter in terms of popularity, so I would say that barely even counts, to be honest. So you might be asking yourself, what is actually my point? What am I getting at here? Well, what I'm saying is that Fallout dominated this cycle post-Oblivion when they picked it up, and it's really silly to think that it would also dominate in this next cycle, when, of course, they have the Elder Scrolls 6, which, they've been doing forever, and this new IP. It's like, of course it's not going to happen. To think that they're going to continue having Fallout dominate when it's dominated for so long, it's just not really thinking about the other communities. Do you know what I mean? Sure, I would really like it if there's another Fallout, but that would mean that we have to push back the Elder Scrolls 6 even longer if we wanted to get it started now, and I just don't understand how people don't realize that, right? Like, there's a reason that they're not doing Fallout for a long time. It's because they've been doing Fallout for the past 10, 12 years. You know what I mean? And of course, there actually is new Fallout content coming besides Fallout 76, but not in game form. There is the Amazon TV series, and yes, that could be really bad, or it could be quite good. We don't know yet. But the point is, that is coming sometime soon as well, for those who don't know, because I still feel like, despite the fact that it made the rounds around the internet, a lot of people still don't really know. But yeah, there will be a TV series based within the Fallout universe coming relatively soon, but we don't know exactly when. So there actually still is Fallout content coming in a weird different way. And the thing is, if it does do well, then perhaps they could do multiple seasons. We don't really know what the plan is, but it actually could tie us over for a bit as well. What I'm trying to say here is that Fallout has had a lot of content made for it, and it kind of still is. So we really probably shouldn't be complaining too heavily about Fallout 5, to be honest. Now, for my final point, 3. This is the wrong approach. Now, what I mean by this is if people want more Fallout content, they shouldn't be saying, let's get rid of this other stuff. They shouldn't even be talking about games, to be honest, because that is a whole lot of work. What they should be asking for is things like books and comics, like the old Fallout All Roads small comic book for Fallout New Vegas that came out ages ago, right? Or little things like that. Or, short animated things like DC kind of does, right? I think as a community, we need to ask for smaller things like that that Bethesda doesn't have to make directly, and they could even get fan involvement, and even if they didn't, Fallout is one of those things where, due to online lore archiving and stuff like that, you can make like really lore accurate things because all of it's there. You know what I mean? So we could make some really fun, really interesting little different stories and content that isn't a game and other people can make for Bethesda and we still get new Fallout content. This is the kind of thing that we should be asking for and spreading the idea of instead of putting other Bethesda projects down. We could show enthusiasm and show that there is a market for this, and maybe Bethesda would be like, huh, people would pay for, like, books and comics, and maybe they'd watch animated series, or an anthology, or even more stuff like that, or, anything, really. I think if we showed that that is something that we're interested in, perhaps it could tie us over for the game, which we don't really know when's coming out. It's quite far, but just attacking the other things Bethesda is working on is not a good idea, and it makes us look worse. It makes Fallout fans look worse, and I just really wish that we would try some more creative solutions to make more Fallout content to enjoy. And that is everything I have to say about this specific topic. Honestly, it's not the biggest deal in the world. There's only certain Fallout fans that actually think like this, but because I've seen a bit of it, and we kind of tend to get a bit inflammatory sometimes, I thought it was worth talking about why it's a bad idea, why talking about that kind of thing in that way is not great, and I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Let me know what I did well, what I could improve on, and what other kind of videos I could make, whether it's similar to this, similar to my other content, or completely different altogether. That being said, I've been Sweet Tripod, and I'll see you in the next video.